Right now, you're wrapped in comfort you don't even notice. A roof over your head, food a few steps away, a device in your hand more powerful than anything a king could have dreamed of a few centuries ago. But strip all of that away. Strip away the buildings, the medicine, the words on this screen, and go back. Not 100 years, not 1,000. Go back tens of thousands of years to a version of you that lived and breathed and loved and feared in a world that was trying to kill it every single day. Because your ancestors were there. Every single one of them survived long enough to pass life down to you. So tonight, let's live an entire life the way they did. From your first breath to your last. Every stage of being a caveman. And I promise you, by the end, you will never look at your own soft, safe life the same way again. Let's start where every story starts. Being born. But forget everything you know about birth. There's no hospital, no doctor, no clean room, no painkillers, no one who truly understands what's happening inside the body. Your mother is giving birth on the ground, maybe in a cave, maybe under an open sky, surrounded by a handful of people who love her and can do almost nothing to help. Birth in this world is one of the most dangerous things a human being will ever do, for both of you. If something goes wrong, and it often does, there is no saving either of you. A huge number of mothers died bringing new life into the world, and a staggering number of babies never made it through their first day. So the very fact that you are breathing at all, in that cave, in that moment, is already a small miracle. You beat odds that would terrify anyone today, before you even opened your eyes. And the moment you do open them, the clock starts ticking. Because the world you were just born into does not care that you're small. It does not care that you're new. It only cares whether you can survive it, which brings us to the hardest part of the whole journey. Being a baby. Here's the brutal truth. If you could survive your first 5 years, your chances of living a long life went up dramatically. But those first 5 years were a gauntlet. Something like half of all children never made it past them. Half. Think about what's trying to end you. There's cold, and you can't warm yourself. There's hunger, and you can't feed yourself. There's sickness, and there's no medicine, no way to fight an infection that today we'd cure with a single pill. A simple fever, a bad case of diarrhea, a small wound that turns bad, any of these could be the end of you. And you have no idea. You're just a baby, wrapped in fur, clinging to the warmth of your mother, completely dependent on the people around you to keep death away one more day. But here's what's beautiful, even in all that danger. You were never alone. You were carried everywhere, held constantly, almost never put down. You slept pressed against warm bodies. In a world this harsh, human closeness wasn't a luxury, it was survival. And that need to be held, that comfort you feel even now from a hug, from another person's warmth, it was born right here, in this desperate, tender stage of life. If you made it through, congratulations. You survived the deadliest years you would ever face. Now, the real learning begins. Welcome to childhood. But this is not childhood the way you knew it. There is no school, no toys handed to you, no adult telling you that you have years to figure life out. In this world, childhood has one single purpose, to turn you into someone who can survive. From the moment you can walk steadily, you are watching, always watching. How do the adults hold that stone? How do they find water? Which plants do they pick? And which ones do they step around like they're poison? Because some of them are. You learn by copying. You follow your mother's hands as she digs for roots. You trail behind the older kids as they hunt for small creatures and birds' eggs. Play, for you, isn't a break from learning. Play is the learning. When you chase your friends, you're practicing running from a predator. When you throw sticks, you're training the exact motion that will one day let you throw a spear. And you are useful. Early. There's no such thing as a child who just consumes and gives nothing back. You gather. You carry. You watch the little ones so the adults can work. By the time you're what we'd call 10 years old, you already know more about surviving in the wild than almost any adult alive today. You can read the sky. You can track an animal. You know your world deeply, because your life depends on knowing it. But childhood doesn't last long here, and soon the group is going to ask something of you that will change everything. This is your coming of age. There's a moment in every young life in this world where the group stops seeing you as a child and starts seeing you as one of them. And it usually doesn't happen quietly. It happens through a test, a trial, something difficult and often something frightening, designed to prove you're ready. Maybe it's your first real hunt where you're expected to help bring down an animal many times your size. Maybe it's spending time alone in the wild, away from the safety of the group, proving you can survive on your own. Maybe it's enduring pain in a ritual, a mark carved or burned into your skin that you will carry for the rest of your life, announcing to everyone that you are no longer a child. Whatever it is, it matters more than any exam you will ever take. Because on the other side of it, everything changes. You're handed real responsibility. You have a voice now. You're trusted with the survival of others, not just yourself. And the whole group watched you earn it. Imagine that. Imagine knowing the exact moment you became an adult. Not a birthday, not a piece of paper. A real threshold you crossed with your own courage. In some ways, they understood something we've forgotten. That becoming an adult should mean something, that it should be felt. And now that you're one of them, your body and your instincts turn towards something ancient and powerful. Finding someone to build a life with. This is the stage of finding a mate. Now, forget the modern picture of romance for a moment, but not entirely. Because something you'd recognize was absolutely there. Attraction. Longing. The pull toward another person. That's not a modern invention. That's tens of thousands of years old. It's in you because it was in them. But choosing a partner in this world wasn't just about feeling. It was about survival, for you and for any children you might have. Strength mattered, skill mattered. Could this person hunt? Could they gather? Were they kind to the group or a burden on it? A good partner wasn't a luxury. A good partner could be the difference between your children living or dying. And here's something that might surprise you. In many of these early groups, the bonds between people were less about ownership and more about connection and cooperation. The whole group helped raise the young. The lines we draw so sharply today were often softer, more fluid. What held everyone together wasn't a contract. It was need. Deep, mutual, human need. So you find your person, or your people, and together you step into the longest and most demanding stage of the whole journey. Being a grown adult, fully responsible for keeping yourself, and now others, alive. This is adulthood. And it is relentless. Every single day is a negotiation with survival. There is no weekend, no day off, no moment where the world stops asking you to earn your place in it. You wake with the light and you begin the endless work of staying alive. If you're hunting, you might walk for miles, tracking a single animal for hours, sometimes for days, following faint prints and broken branches and instinct. The hunt is dangerous. The animals you chase can gore you, trample you, kill you in a heartbeat. One bad moment, one slip, one wounded animal turning to fight, and your story ends right there, far from anyone who could help. If you're gathering, the work is quieter but no less vital. You know every plant for miles. Which ones feed you? Which ones heal you? Which ones will kill you if you get it wrong? In many groups, this steady, reliable food is what actually keeps everyone alive between hunts. It's not the dramatic part of the story, but it's the part that survives. And through all of it, there's the weather. The cold that creeps into your bones with no wall to stop it. The rain you cannot escape. The seasons that decide whether your group eats well or slowly starves. You are exposed to the raw power of nature in a way almost no human alive today will ever truly feel. But you're not doing it alone. And this is the secret at the very heart of how your ancestors survived a world this harsh. They did it together. Everything was shared. The hunt, the food, the danger, the load. A single human alone in this world would die quickly. But a group working as one, watching each other's backs, sharing every scrap, that group could do the impossible. That could survive. Your ancestors didn't conquer this world because they were the strongest. They conquered it because they were together. And soon, you'll pass everything you've learned to someone small and helpless and completely dependent on you. Just as you once were. This is parenthood. The moment you hold your own child, the entire equation of your life changes. Every risk you take now carries a heavier weight because there's a small, fragile person whose survival depends entirely on you. The fear you felt for yourself is nothing compared to the fear you now feel for them. And you remember, don't you, everything from your own childhood. You teach the way you were taught, by showing, by letting them watch your hands, follow your steps, copy your every move. You teach them which plants heal and which ones kill. You teach them to read the sky, to track, to be still when danger is near. You are not just raising a child. You are passing down thousands of years of hard-won knowledge. Knowledge that people died to learn, handed forward so that your child has a chance. And you are not doing it alone. This is one of the most beautiful truths about how your ancestors lived. It truly did take an entire group to raise a child. Grandparents, aunts, older siblings, friends, the whole group folded around the young and protected them. Every child belonged in a sense to everyone. Every adult had a hand in keeping them alive. But time moves, even here. Your hands grow slower. Your body, which carried you through so much, begins to tire. And you enter a stage that, in this world, was rare and precious and quietly powerful. This is old age. Here's something that will surprise you. In this world, reaching old age was not common. Most people never got there. And that's exactly what made the old ones so important. Because an elder wasn't just someone who survived. An elder was a library, a living memory. In a world with no writing, no books, no way to store knowledge outside a human mind, the old people were where all the wisdom lived. They remembered the drought from decades ago and how the group survived it. They remembered where the water was in the driest season. They knew the stories, the rules, the hard lessons paid for in blood by people long gone. When a crisis came and the young looked around in fear, it was the old ones who could say, "I have seen this before. Here is what we do." So the elders were protected, cared for, listened to. They may not have been able to hunt anymore, but they held something more valuable than strength. They held the memory of the entire group. And in the quiet of the evening, gathered around a fire, it was the old voices the young ones leaned in to hear. Imagine growing old and knowing that your years didn't make you a burden, but a treasure. That every wrinkle was proof of survival, and every memory a gift the whole group depended on. In some ways, they honored age in a way our world has almost forgotten. But no life goes on forever, not theirs, not yours. And so we come to the final stage, the one every single one of your ancestors reached, the one you will reach too. This is death. Death was never far away in this world. It walked beside your ancestors their whole lives, closer than we could ever imagine. They saw it often. They lost children, partners, friends, parents. Death was not hidden away, softened, kept out of sight the way it so often is today. It was woven into the fabric of living. And yet, here is one of the most profoundly human things we've ever discovered about them. They did not treat death as nothing. When someone died, they cared. We found graves, tens of thousands of years old, where the dead were laid to rest gently, placed in specific positions, buried with flowers, with tools, with small treasured objects, as if to say, "You meant something, and we are sending you on with the things you loved." Think about what that means. In a world so harsh that survival consumed nearly every waking moment, they still stopped. They still grieved. They still gathered around their dead and marked the loss, and perhaps wondered, as you have surely wondered, what happens now. Where do we go? This may be the oldest question our species has ever asked. And they were asking it tens of thousands of years ago, with tears in their eyes and dirt on their hands, standing over someone they loved. That is the moment we became fully human. Not when we made the first tool, not when we lit the first fire, but when we looked at death and refused to let it be meaningless. So, there it is. An entire life. From a dangerous birth, through a childhood spent learning to survive, through the trial that made you an adult, through love and endless work, and raising children of your own, into a rare and honored old age, and finally, to a death that the people who loved you refused to ignore. And every stage of that life, every single one, was lived by your ancestors. All of them. An unbroken chain of people who were born and struggled and loved and survived just long enough to pass life forward, down through thousands of generations, all the way to you. So the next time your life feels too comfortable or too hard or too small, remember what it took to get you here. Remember the mother in the cave, the child who survived the gauntlet, the hunter who walked for days, the elder by the fire. They are not strangers. They are you a long time ago, and you are the reason all of their struggle meant something. You are what they survived for.